Hey, everybody, back again today. This is part three of our continuing series of classic album song rankings. I'm doing with Sam St. John, my usual partner. We have a special guest today. Robert's on my turntable.
Hey
We
everyone.
can't, glad to have Robert here. It's been so long. I've been chomping at the bit to get him to come on our show. And this is the perfect opportunity with a great album to evaluate and rank the songs. We're doing Dark Side of the Moon, of course, Pink Floyd's classic from 1973. Sam's got it held up there. Just an unbelievable album, concept album, really perfectly mastered, engineered, produced. The instruments on
Yeah.
this are just pristine. I think it's the best thing Pink Floyd ever did. You'll get some arguments. Some people say The Wall. Some people say Animals. Some people say
The White
Wish You
Album.
Were Here. You'll get all kinds of different
Crazy
opinions, but
people out there.
this is an absolute masterpiece. Believe it or not,
Definitely.
only number one week in the U.S., although it charted for over 700 non-consecutive weeks. So it was on the charts for years and years.
Remarkable.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Iconic cover as Sam held up with this
Yeah.
prism and the light with the rainbow. Everybody knows that album. Like I said, it's one continuous piece of music when you listen to it. We're going to break up the songs and rank them individually because that's what we do. So, any thoughts, gentlemen? Robert, let's start with you. Glad
Yeah,
to have
Robert.
you here. Let us know
Thank you
your
so much,
thoughts.
guys. Thank you so much. I love being here, and I appreciate you asking me to be here for this amazing album. Again, a masterpiece just in production, in the songs, the structure of the songs, the musicianship, just remarkable stuff. And it's a concept album, and it grows, and you hear something different every time you listen to it.
Yeah.
And I didn't really get it until, I wouldn't say fairly recently, but recently, as far as it just, I got it because there's so much. It's about life. It's about someone
Right.
said and she was almost right. She said it's almost about the 7 deadly sins, with a few exceptions in there, but
Yeah.
it's about insanity, life, darkness. It's just remarkable stuff.
And everything in between, all the ups and downs
Yeah,
of life,
yeah.
dealing with pressures and all kinds of
Whether
stuff.
it's now, 20 years from now, 30 years ago, the same thing happens, right? The same darkness in life happens. So it's a pretty prominent album that way.
Yeah.
That's why it stayed on the charts for 700 and some weeks.
Now, is
Just
this an
'cause it's so
album
good.
for you? Did you discover this when it first came out, or
Yeah,
later on?
this
Okay.
was my introduction to Pink Floyd.
Yeah, me too.
This is not the original copy that I
Right.
have, but this was my introduction to Pink Floyd. I didn't get into Animals and The Wall and Wish You Were Here until much later. But and of course, when you listen to it when you're a teenager, you get it, but you don't really get it.
Right.
It's cool songs, you got Money and Time and everything else on there, but when you start putting all the songs together, it just blows your mind.
How about you,
Blows your
Sam?
mind.
As a younger listener, when did you first hear it? What did you first think, and how has it grown on you?
Yeah, I probably picked this up when I was probably 18-ish. I guess when I first started getting into it. That's when I was really getting into music seriously. I wasn't just listening to the same 200 songs on the radio all the time. And I mean, obviously, at least in my neck of the woods, songs like Money and Brain Damage were radio staples. And, I knew those songs. And I was starting to slowly get into a little bit more harder rock. Like I was getting into Zeppelin, the later catalog of the Beatles, just more complex music. And this is the first Pink Floyd album that I picked up.
Right.
And again, it's hard to break this one apart.
It sure is.
That's why we kind of decided before coming on that we're only going to be calling this 9 songs, even though it's 10. And I mean, half the album is instrumental, give or take. But I mean, we're calling like songs 1 and 2 one song just because they go. It's almost like a suite almost. And some people even call parts of this like jazz fusion. And so like I didn't know about jazz fusion until much later in life. But yeah, it's one I've listened to it a lot. It's a higher album for me in terms of albums that I've listened to the most. There was a phase in my life where I listened to it quite a bit. And you know, it's got a lot of elements to it. I think 3 of the members, like including Richard Wright, all sing on this album. So
Yeah.
it's a group effort. It's really, I mean, it's a masterpiece, but Roger Waters is kind of vacant in terms of the vocals until the end. But yeah, it's just great. And I mean, it goes by fast, but also it takes its time getting to where it needs to go. So yeah, I'm rambling, but it's a great album.
I agree. Same thing. You know, I heard it when it first came out, and you know, it didn't have the effect on me when I was in my teens that it does now. You go back and listen to it, and like Robert said, you can hear something different every time out, especially on a headphone. You can really pick up nuances and different things that you didn't miss the first time around. But fantastic. So what we usually do is we're going to rank these from the bottom to the top. Robert's going to go first because he's the guest, and then Sam and myself. And at the end, we'll give the album an overall score, 10 being a masterpiece, 1 being horrendous, 5 being mediocre. So that's the structure of the show. So, Robert, kick it off. What's your number 9 tune?
Well, again, I want to say right off the bat, this was a difficult thing to do because there is not one terrible song on the album. Not one.
Right.
Everyone has its place. And as it's structured, it kind of flows. So, but you got to pick one. I'm going to go with Any Color You Like. Again, still an amazing song, but awesome guitar, keyboard, synth. It kind of sends you into a dreamscape.
Yeah. Right.
It's cool. It's psychedelic, jazzy in some parts as well. Plus the amazing solo by Gilmour. You just know his.
Yeah.
The minute the first note hits, you know it's him. But it's all at the same time, it's kind of quirky. I kind of picture it as a person's brain not completely firing on all cylinders in a way, because it's about, most of this album is about you know, psychotic brain and being just out there. So you kind of, when you're listening to it, you just lost, and it just takes you away. But that's my number 9. Any Color You Like. An amazing song, though. I love it. I really do love it. But you've got to choose. You have to choose.
That's the challenge of this whole exercise, and it's difficult because, like you said, they all flow into each other beautifully, and to break them up seems wrong, but we're doing it anyway. So what do you guys say?
Yeah, I know some people aren't a fan of that, but it's part of the fun to break it apart like a puzzle. But, I agree with Robert. Number 9 is Any Color You Like. It's probably out of the whole album, because it doesn't sound like a really dated album, but that's probably the most dated piece on it. And again, I think largely in part due to the synth, which, you know, once you started getting into synth pop, like in the 80s, I wasn't a big fan of that to an extent. So that's why this one is lower. It is kind of, you have David Gilmour, kind of like he does on Wish You Were Here, kind of scatting the solo, which I think was just like an exercise for him when he would play guitar. I think it probably helped him find the notes. Like if he sang it, he could, you know, if he messed up, he could just slide on up and find the note. But it's there's not a whole lot more about it other than, you know, the scatting and the synth nature of it. So it's number 9.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. It's my number 9 as well, and I'm not really going to add anything to the musical part of it because you guys covered that. But as a transition piece to me, and the title, Any Color You Like, I interpret it as a thinking person's kind of vibe here, where you're making choices and decisions in your life. That's just the way I because it's a downtime where you can think and let the music take over, and you can make decisions based on, you know, religion, politics, what am I going to wear? Simple things like what am I going to wear today, and who am I going to choose for my friends? It's like it's just a passage of time again. That any color you like you can make choices.
I never thought of it that way. That's awesome.
The cover too. With the rainbow on it.
The prism. Yeah. Again, this album, there's so much. Again, every time you hear it, you holy crap, what's that, and it just takes you. And I never even thought of it that way. That's a great analogy for that one.
Yeah, and for me, like I listened to it today during my last hour of work, and and I hadn't listened to this for I'd say at least a year. It's just always you were like, oh, that's a good album. You forget.
I wish I could listen to it at work. You're lucky.
Yeah,
but if you have time and you're in that deep kind of thinking kind of mode, after all the lyrics have passed, and then you're left with this musical piece of genius, really, that works between. Yeah. Where does it fit on the album? It comes in between Us and Them and Brain Damage. So you're kind of just thinking like,
Well, my thoughts on this album are. It still would have, like, we probably would still be doing this episode even if there were no lyrics on this album.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Because I mean, like, you would look at it like a Frank Zappa album. His albums have a lot of instrumental interludes, like just the music of Gilmour and like all four of them really. It's just brilliant. I mean, so you could listen to it just isolated with no vocals, and it would still blow you away.
Yeah.
So we all agree on that at number 9, and that's no. Knock against it, obviously, because every song is brilliant. So now we're up to number 8 for Robert. What do you have there?
I'm going to go with the last song, Eclipse. Closes out the album after Brain Damage. Kind of an epilogue, wraps the whole album up. Again, just because it's number 8 doesn't mean it's not a good song. To me, it's everything about the human condition.
Right.
The backing vocals are powerful. You got Leslie Duncan and Doris Troy, I think her name is, on there. Mm-hmm. And then the last 40 seconds, once the song kind of ends, you can hear this voice come on, especially in your headphones. Says, "There's no dark side of the moon. As a matter of fact, it's all dark." Yeah. So to me, life is dark in this guy's mind, right?
Yeah.
And some people are like that. Some people just are dark, right? But it's just what a way to end an album. So you got the first song, and this one kind of bookends. Sorry, fantastic stuff.
And you got
that's my number.
I'm sorry, you have the heartbeat at the beginning and the heartbeat at the end.
Yeah. Well, at the beginning, I'm going to talk about that one later. Yeah. You've got everything in that album in the first song.
Yes, you do.
Right. But I'll talk about that one a little later. Yeah. But yeah, the Eclipse is a great way to end the album. I just placed it at number 8 in this case.
Right. Yeah. How about you, Sam?
But it could be number 8, could be number 1, could be number.
Yeah, it could be.
For me, number 8 is The Great Gig in the Sky. I don't know. I loved it. When it came out, but not when it came out, when I first heard it for the first time, because it's not one you hear on the radio, because it wouldn't really make sense as a radio song. It was sung by Claire Torrey with, of course, Pink Floyd playing background. And from what I understand, her session was later in the night because she had tickets to go see a show or something, and she had to get to the studio after the show, essentially, that she was going to go see. But it's just like this, like, sporadic, like, improv vocal of screaming and soft singing, but maybe not quite scatting, but all sorts of like weird sounds that she's making with her mouth. But it's almost just like chaos from her voice. And I think she predominantly did it in 2 takes, and she got like halfway through a 3rd take and stopped and felt like she was like becoming stale. And so they just took pieces from all 3 takes, and that's what you got. So she got it through in 1 session. And I think after a while, just like the squealing parts of it kind of get to me after a while. And so maybe that's why it's so low, but it's a great song. But she was also, I think she was given the standard rate at the time of being paid £30 for her studio time. And I don't think she even, like, her understanding was she probably wasn't even going to make it onto the album because she didn't really get a response from Pink Floyd. And then she saw the album come out and saw her name in the credits. And I think about 15 or 16 years ago, she kind of won out some money she had missed out
The
on.
royalties. Yeah.
Yeah, some royalties. But yeah, it's number 8, I think, mostly because it's pretty avant-garde, and I'm not.
Well,
big.
it's a song about dying, and that's pretty much what it's about. So it's
pain,
yeah.
it's horror,
yeah,
it's everything. I mean, it's perfect for good grief, it closes out what side 1, and imagine hearing that for the first time and thinking, where is this album going to go in side 2?
I know.
But yeah, it's number 8.
I have it a notch higher, but my number 8 is On the Run. Another one of these instrumental synth, heavy on the synth kind of songs with a travel theme. You hear the footsteps running like in the airport. There's voices in the background about have your passports ready, and the fear of maybe the fear of travel, the pressures of everyday life, the stress, getting there in a hurry, that type of thing. It works beautifully where it's at on the record. I have to say that, but it's one of these songs that, if it was left off, would I cry about it? No, but I understand why it's there. And it's people keeping up with a hectic schedule and running to get the next meeting, or if you're a business person, or running to get your kids at school, you can apply it in anywhere in your life.
Anywhere.
It fits.
Anywhere. Yeah.
That's the whole thing about this album.
Yeah.
This is about life and death and madness and all that stuff, and darkness and light, and you can use any kind of approach you want. That's how great this album is, and this has its place. So that's my number 8.
Well, I had it at number 7, and apparently, and everything, I agree with completely everything you said. Apparently, it's the song's based on Richard Wright's Fear of Flying.
Okay.
He was afraid to fly, so it's kind of his way to, I guess, try and get over it. But again, the mind plays tricks on you. I think it's someone's running away from nightmares and terrible thoughts. You can think of that way. I think of it that way anyway. It's the kind of driving this person into a frenzy as they're running away from something, and then all of a sudden at the end you hear a plane crash.
Yeah.
Is that the end of a nightmare, or is that part of a nightmare, or what it's all about? I mean, there's so many interpretations you could take on this song, but yeah, the cool, running through an airport, the weird synth going on. I think it's a metaphor for people running away from life, almost just like what you said there. Yeah. So that's my number 7 On the Run.
Yeah, very cool.
Cool track again. Cool track.
It is. Sure. It's bizarre, but cool.
Cool, bizarre. But the whole album is like that, right?
It's like that. Blends, you have to go with it. You have to flow, man. It's just sink your teeth into it and let it happen. It's an experience. It really is.
That's right.
How about you, Sam? It's 7.
It's the same for me, so we can continue the conversation. The way it works well, and I never really thought about it. You talked about like the crash and maybe it being a dream, and then because the song right after it is Time, so it kind of reminds you of maybe like A Day in the Life by the Beatles. Like you have like the dream state of John Lennon's voice, and then like the alarm clock and then Paul McCartney's section. He wakes up.
That's
kind
perfect.
of a similar feel here. Obviously, this album came out much later. Maybe an influence, I don't know, but
could be
that I've never thought about till this conversation, where that could have been, the reason it flew into time was so that you had that dream state, and then the waking up, realizing, taking away.
Yeah, maybe he woke up from that dream or something.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So it's number 7 for me.
I like that interpretation because it works. All the madness and the horror of the dream, and then those bells going off and the alarm. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's cool.
For sure.
My number 7 is one Sam had a little bit ago, The Great Gig in the Sky. Like Robert said, it's about death, the mystery of it, what's going to happen when you get there. It's kind of haunting, and her voice is so emotive. I would use the word. You can feel all the levels of fear and pain and sadness, acceptance, even at one point where she slows it down, and then it drifts off to silence. It's beautifully set up, and could be a journey between death and the afterlife almost, because we really don't know what happens. It's one of the mysteries of life, you know. And this song really fits well on the album after some of the other more up-tempo numbers. It comes in nicely, so I like it a lot.
Yeah. Awesome song. I've got a slightly higher, but not too much higher. But my number 6 is Brain Damage. Kind of inspired by Syd Barrett's mental state.
Yep.
You got the laughter going on as well, which is kind of weird. Also, there's an easiness to the song too. But as they're singing it, it's kind of got that flow to the song. I can imagine a video where they're panning the camera through like a mental institution, through the hallways, and people in bed, outside, kind of maybe one swinging on a swing at a, you know what I mean? It's just that.
Yeah.
That's what it gives to. That's what it sends to me, you know, because I love the dramatic keyboards in there as well.
Yeah.
But then you got the lyrics, the lunatics on the grass.
Yep.
I don't know if they could get away with saying lunatic these days if they brought out an album. It's not very appropriate thing to say, but it's all about, to me, it's all about people in this institution. That's how I take it.
Yeah.
But I could just see it. I could just see someone making a video on that song and you know, the sad state of people in a hospital or whatever.
Yeah.
And but just it's an amazing song. It really is. But and of course Syd Barrett's, you know, it's famous his mental state. It's a sad thing because he was a great musician as well.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's my number 6 as well, Robert. So we're 3 for 4 on our
Wow.
picks here. But I always read this album was also kind of a concept about fame itself.
Hence money, I think.
Hence money, and then brain damage. Like you've used your money. You had any color you like before this, or your dream. You might be on drugs, whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
And this is the result of that, of the money, of the drugs, whatever you're doing. And yeah, I mean, I think it's Roger. Other than the last song, it's Roger Waters' really only full-length song that he's singing on the album. So it's interesting that he's the one singing this one in particular. But I've read the other day where they were talking about how Syd Barrett, even though he was only on not even a full album and a half of Pink Floyd's material, how he was with Pink Floyd essentially the whole time. Because like without Syd Barrett, you probably wouldn't have had a song like Brain Damage. I mean, because they saw it firsthand, probably in the studio, on tour, where he wouldn't show, where he was going, he was doing whatever he was doing backstage or even on stage. And it's a great kind of penultimate track before like the coda at the end with Eclipse. But it's a great song. The laughing is creepy. It's
creepy. And
as a young kid, I mean, you listen to it and you're like, oh, that's kind of, it's funny because it's like this clown laughing, but then you listen to it as you get older and you're like, yeah, that's weird. Like you imagine like a straight jacket and,
it's
pillowed walls around you. It's just, it's a lot of imagery in it. And you can see them like on the grass, like skipping, but like in like this straight jacket. There's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that's the images I was getting. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's number 6, but at one time, this was one of the first Pink Floyd tracks I ever heard. So I mean,
wow, what an introduction to Pink Floyd.
Yeah, Pink. Like that's what I said. The couple of songs that they played on the radio were some of my first memories of Pink Floyd. So this is one of them.
Yeah.
My number 6 is the one that happens right after that, Eclipse, the final track. The transition that they make from Brain Damage to Eclipse is incredible. I love that. But this sort of sums up everything that came before it. The silence, the heartbeat, and I don't know, all the human traits. The dark side of the moon, what Robert mentioned, where everything is dark. Kind of the ugliness of life, where you got war, racism, hate, violence, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You can interpret it any way you want, and that's kind of
But isn't that the cool thing about an album like this? Is that it there's probably going to be 1,000 different interpretations of it.
Yeah.
Well, even
That's
during
how-
this conversation, I've thought
That's
about
how great this album is, right?
Yeah.
It's a thinking person's album. It really is. In addition to the great music, if you let your mind take you places, you can interpret maybe something different every single time, which is awesome
Mhm.
as well.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm putting it at number 6, because I like these other ones just a tad more.
Yeah.
But it's a great summation of the album. I think it ends it in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I go with number 5 with the Great Gig in the Sky. I mean, you guys have already said amazing stuff about it, but again, beautifully sung by Claire Torrey. It's about dying and how it could be both comforting and scary at the same time. No one knows.
Right.
Of course, there's no lyrics, but she sings lyrics through her vocals.
Mm-hmm.
She definitely does. She's got that beautiful style and range, amazing range, and she can bring it right down to nothing. But it's also the words in the beginning. I'm not afraid of dying. Why should I be? We got to go sometime. That just it brings up images. My dad passing away a year or so ago, and all the people that we've lost and whatever.
Yeah.
Brings you to tears sometimes, depending on the day. I don't watch a lot. I watch a fair amount of reaction videos. When I watch people reacting to this, I can see tears in their eyes.
Oh, sure.
Because it just hits them like a brick. They're waiting for something. They're waiting for a word, but they don't get it. But they hear it through her. So it's just an amazing song. I got that right in the middle at number 5. But yeah, remarkable stuff. Stuff.
All right, for number 5 for me, I've got the song "Us and Them." Love this song. I love that the echo. It takes its time getting to where it needs to go. I think it's the longest song on the album. This is the one that I mentioned. You have Richard Wright singing harmonies on the chorus with Gilmore, which you forget how similar their voices are and how they influence each other. Because who knows? Maybe Richard Wright was singing in the studio, but didn't sing. Like he was like maybe getting a line across or something, and maybe their styles bounced off of each other. But I love how he sings the chorus, and it's an anti-war song. They're saying like us and them, and again I think of it kind of as also to go in line with like the whole fame aspect that I was thinking of. Like it could be the performer with the audience. It's us and then them, and there's like this wall between the two of us, which obviously they would get to later on another album. But it's a great one. I love this. I'm not usually a jam kind of guy. Like I don't really do jam bands or anything like that. But this one, I like that it takes its time. It works really well for the album, and the contrast and the lyrics, and it's just a great song. And then the bridge, like the spoken word little part, was actually by their roadie, whose name is Roger Manifold. And so they were pulling people in all the time. Pink Floyd, a lot of their songs have different people on them, unlike the Beatles. Pink Floyd, they were okay with getting their sound guy or their roadie or some session singer to come in and do the parts for them, because they just took what worked. If it wasn't, they'd pull it from somebody else. So
that's cool. Yeah.
Very good.
You don't think of them as being that though, right? You think of them as being 4 guys and a tight ship.
Well, I mean, just even look at like their last album, Endless River. Like they were like, why do we need to put lyrics on this? Let's just make it essentially instrumental, with the exception of the last song. And I think they were more interested in the music, honestly. Roger Waters was, the vocal, was
the lyricist,
and then Gilmore was all about the music. So that's why they worked so well, even though that they weren't a great team outside the studio.
I got that album. I just haven't listened to it enough, but I got to go back and listen to it.
I have it too. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, before I get to my number 5, I just want to give a little shout out to Alan Parsons too for the production and engineering.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this with those sound effects and the different voices, like the lunatic, and it's just masterful the way they work it in there. A lot of credit to him. And Richard Wright is the secret weapon here of Pink Floyd. Everybody talks about Waters and Gilmour, but Richard Wright adds a lot, especially on this album with his organ and piano and keyboards in general. It's really excellent. My number 5 here is Brain Damage, which was talked about earlier. Originally called Lunatic and Mental Illness with Syd Barrett, overdose of drugs, and the madness, insanity, and it's a big theme that runs through the album. I always think about, situations where what will make a person crack. Some people can cope with the worst things in life happening to them, and they never really crack mentally. They persevere and work their way through life.
Mm-hmm.
What's that thin line between sanity and insanity is always
it's pretty thin sometimes.
It's very thin, and you never know who's going to be vulnerable to to go the other way with it and become unstable and crack or break down. The stress and anxieties that we all have in our lives, some more than others, but this is a great homage to mental health and enduring some tragedy in your life or some just horrific events. You turn on the news and it's enough to make you sick sometimes.
Oh, yeah. That's why I don't watch the news.
Yeah, well, you're smart.
I don't watch the news a lot of times. Yeah.
But it's a great song. And it's just incredible.
Well, they did a lot of homage to him for sure. I mean, Wish You Were Here. Look at that album there.
Yeah.
The whole bit. So, he was a big influence. Obviously, he was the band. He was just a short-lived part of it, but he was there throughout, as Sam said, throughout most of it. So it's just a sad story, really. It's an unfortunate story. My number 4 was Sam's number 5, I think it was, Us and Them. Mm-hmm. We're pretty close, eh? All of us, all together.
Yeah.
Darn, I said A. I don't want to say A. I don't say A.
Hey, be yourself, Robert.
I try so hard. No, I don't say that usually. I don't say. I should have said, really? Us and Them. It's just an amazing song. The sax solo in it is just remarkable. Richard Perry. Yeah. It's slow and sultry, almost a ballad. I mean, Pink Floyd's not known for ballads, but it's almost a ballad. Echoey vocals. It's kind of the difference in people and the similarities in people, or the lack of similarities in people as well. I mean, us, them, you, me, right? The chorus is dramatic. It really just drives up, and then it calms down again during the lyrics. And then that sax solo is just amazing. I mean, amazing song. So that's my number 4, Us and Them. Just remarkable stuff.
Love it.
Yeah.
For me, it is it's number 4. Breathe, the first true track on the album, which is we're combining with Speak to Me. So Speak to Me / Breathe in the Air is my number 4. And again, because Speak to Me is really just the clocks, that clock motif of time that starts off the album. And again, you've got this nice long kind of start to the album, and really great, slow kind of bluesy ballad with Breathe. Gilmour's got the smoky vocals, and I love his voice, and I love the fact that he still sounds exactly the same. I think it's incredible that his voice is the way it was when he was in his 20s. But just, again, another one of those simple lyrics, not a whole lot of lyrics, but one of my favorite lines of this song. They say, "Run, rabbit, run. Don't dig that hole, forget the sun."
Yeah.
When at last the work is done, don't sit down. It's time to do another one.
Yeah.
It's just like you're gonna work till you're dead. And again, a great lyrical song to kick off the album. And again, you got that clock motif, which shows up again at the end of Eclipse when the album ends. So it's that bow that you're untying it at the beginning, but at the end you tie it back up again.
Tie it back up again. That's a
Yeah.
good one. Yeah.
It's just a great song. I love Gilmour's vocals in it, and I love the bluesy nature of it.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah, it's my
Awesome.
number 4 as well. Speak to Me / Breathe. Everything he said. I like the way Speak to Me starts out, though. It gives you little snippets of what's to come with the heartbeat, and there's a little clock in there and a cash register in there.
Yeah.
The helicopter noise, all these little sound
It's the
effects.
overture. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the overture.
Yeah.
Even Claire Torrey's voice is in there a little bit. The maniacal scream, everything's in there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like setting you up for the ride, the journey you're about to take. So, and then it goes into Breathe, which is that slow paced, textured kind of song. I think it just means,
Pardon me.
that's all right. It means to like simply, appreciate life, that type of thing. Take time to smell the roses, so to speak, and follow your heart, stand firm, make your own decisions, live your life. Don't get caught up in the greed and corruption and all that stuff. Just breathe in the air. It's just a wonderful song.
Which is, there's so much of that greed and corruption going on these days. It's just
Oh my
remarkable.
God. Yeah.
This album stands the test of time. It's just as relevant today as it is, because everything included in the album is happening daily almost. So
Yes.
I these next three, well, the third and the first, I almost switched them today, because one's just as good as the other. But and we've heard them 1,000 times, but I'm still gonna put it in because it's still, again, I'm gonna go with Money at number 3. Again, heard it. I don't know how many times you've heard this one, but again, full of greed. It's a song pretty much about greed.
Yeah.
I love that walking bass line in the beginning.
Awesome. Yeah.
And the reason I almost put it at number 1 is for the guitar work of Gilmour.
Mm-hmm.
That lead in there is probably one of his best, even though it's not a long lead. The band kicks it in with this groovy, with this cool groove as well. Greed and Lust and the Almighty Dollar, and another sax solo in there. Fantastic sax solo by Richard Perry again. Just everything you want in a song. I mean, it's overplayed on classic rock radio for sure. That's another reason I don't listen to classic rock radio. But again, it's great. It's fantastic. So, yeah. Boom, ba-doom, boom, boom. I just love that opening bass line.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and the cash registers and everything. It's just cool.
That's right.
Yeah. That's my number 3.
Number 3 for me, y'all have mentioned it a little bit further back, both of y'all. It's the song Eclipse, which is the last song on the album. It's only a couple minutes long, but I love almost like the whole chorus comes in, like you've got all these singers on it, and it's almost like a drinking song. Like it's kind of like this kind of style, but just the whole, all that you touch, all that you feel, like just essentially just talking about everything in your life is meaningless essentially. But it's great. I mean, you got that. It's almost like, because the 2 songs before you have Any Color You Like, and then this is Eclipse. It's almost like you had the light and now there's the darkness again. So it's kind of like a full cycle there at the end of the album with Eclipse, and it flows beautifully from Brain Damage into Eclipse, and just a killer track. And it was hard to separate it from Brain Damage because you associate the two together so much. But
and then he says at the end, there is no dark side of the moon. It's all dark.
It's all darkness. Yeah.
The last 40 seconds, I think it was, that he comes in with that.
It's like somebody's watching the eclipse, and now it's dark on that side and the front.
Yeah.
It's a great song.
Awesome.
My number 3 is Money, which Robert had at number 3. I love that cash register in the beginning. I mean, just a little thing like that sets you up.
Yeah.
The greed, the consumerism, like when is enough? When you're rich, you want the Learjet and you want the caviar and buy a football team. It's like you can never be satisfied with where you just keep taking Keep Your Hands Off of My Stack. Some of the imagery they use is fantastic, you know. And it rocks really hard. That instrumental part in the middle where they're just
that
jamming.
no.
And it seems to go on for a while, and it's perfect the way they do it. The saxophone, the guitar work. Oh my God, what a great song!
At one time, I almost thought about it was about the managers and stuff. Keep away from my money, you know, like ripping me off, stop ripping me off, type of thing. But I'm not sure if it's about that or not. But
I think it's about greed, and you know, it's like you said early on. It could be interpreted as maybe the 7 deadly sins, and that's one of them.
Yeah. I you know, there's no gluttony in this one, but well, maybe it is.
If you can look hard, you can probably find it. But
but it was cool that and this is an older lady too. Her and I talk about music all the time at work. She's one of the few people at work that we talk about music, and she's pretty hip on this stuff. And when I was telling her I was doing a video with you guys, she said, and I said, you know, it's about this and that. She said, you know, no, it's really about the 7 deadly sins, because she loves this album too, which is cool.
I like it. You know?
Yeah.
It's like what you stick your mind to. What it be like for me. For me, it's always going to be about fame. Like, because that's what I read when I was younger, and that's all I can think of is that it's about fame and rise and fall.
1,000 different interpretations, man. 1,000 different interpretations.
Yep.
So my number 2 is kind of a break between my number 3 and my number 1, because number 3 was so powerful in money. So I'm going to choose Speak to Me and Breathe in the Air. So Speak to Me, of course, starts off with everything that the album's about. You got heartbeats, you got clocks ticking, you got voices, you got cash registers, you got laughter, you got insanity. It's a prelude to what's going to happen in the album.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to realize that, because you hear it, okay, that's cool, but then once you start thinking about it and listen to it. And then, of course, Breathe. Again, I wrote down here a nice break between money and time, because time's going to be my number 1, which it is. It's because both songs are amazing. But it starts off with that scream.
Yeah.
And then into this cool groove, great harmonies, and another song that sent you into a dreamscape. The keyboards are fantastic in this one as well. And the drums are awesome too. We don't talk enough about the drums with Pink Floyd, but so that's my number 2, Speak to Me / Breathe in the Air. Fantastic stuff.
Great.
Fantastic stuff.
Number 2 for me, y'all both mentioned it, Money. Again, it's a staple in classic rock. It's as much a staple as, you know, Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin, or, you know, Won't Get Fooled Again. This is one of Pink Floyd's greatest hits, so to speak, even though they're not really a hit machine necessarily. But yeah, the whole rhythm of the cash register with Roger Waters on the bass. That's one of the few. Like, I can play bass. I can play bass notes, but that's like one of the actual few bass runs that I can play, and it's so fun. It's very easy, but it shows the styling and the theme of the song. It's just heavy, and then like what you were saying about the instrumental part, just that walk down of everybody going no, and then the Gilmore going wow, wow, like he's hitting that bar, the whammy, and they knock it out, and they've got all the time in the world to get to where they're going, and
kind of funky too. It's kind of a funky track.
Yeah, it's kind of a precursor. It's not a disco song, but it's got that dance floor kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
But you're dancing to it one way, and then like that heavy, almost heavy metal break comes down, and you're like, I can't dance to this. I've got to listen to this.
What a solo though! What a solo! Like
great solo.
He's usually more melodic in his solos, but he wails on this one.
Yeah, he's strumming for sure, and he's getting that grit and just bending those strings, and I love his vocals in it. I love the whole, you know, money, it's a gas. That's very British. So it's a very British song, but they talk about football team referring to soccer.
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 It's a great song, even though it's overplayed. It's one that I don't. If I hear it on the radio, I'm not disgusted. Like a lot of other songs that are overplayed. But that's number 2.
My number 2 is going to be both yours number 1, and that's Time. Love it. I mean, it came close to be any of my top 3 could have been number 1 for me, but I'm putting Time at number 2. You know, basically the passage of time, the ticking of clocks, the alarms going off. They use sound effects to great effect here, bells, everything. Even church bells, I think, are in there. They're all mixed in beautifully. And to me, it's just making the most of your time. Don't waste it with meaningless things. And it's amazing how time goes by. You even mentioned how fast it goes by. One day you find 10 years have got behind you is one of the lyrics. I mean, just you blink and, you know, where'd it go?
It happens. It happens.
You know, when you're young, it seems like things are slowed down a pace. But when you get to be 45, 50, 60 years old, all of a sudden, man, it flies by. No question about it. And this song really, I think, brings that home. No one told you when to run. You missed the starting gun. It's like you might have missed out on something or whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can interpret as far as time goes. You know, kicking around a piece of ground in your hometown, waiting for something or someone to show you the way. It's just beautifully delivered. Ticking away the moments that make up a dull day. You fritter and waste the hours in an offhand way. We all do that. We all do it. I mean, and this is just bringing that home. Like, make something of each minute, of each day, of each week. I mean, because you don't know what tomorrow brings. And that's all woven through this song.
I had one of those calls again. Sorry about that.
It's okay. And again, the guitar work on here.
I lost my audio.
Yeah.
The guitar work by David Gilmour is first rate.
Shit.
You're all right, Robert. I think
we can hear you, but I don't know if you can hear us.
You're there.
I've lost my audio. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
We can hear you.
Just give me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't hear you though. I had one of those stupid calls again. Just give me 2 seconds. Just give me 2 seconds. I still can't hear you guys. I'm going to sign out and get back in again.
Okay.
There you go.
Sounds good.
We'll be talking about time as well.
Yeah. We'll just go right into it. I don't know if I can edit that out or not. I'll try when I end it. I'll put it in my editing and try and we'll just transition from what I said to what you guys are going to say.
Yeah. So I'll just go ahead and jump in. The whole idea of time. I love how that, again, there he is.
Sorry about that.
Can you hear us?
Right.
I had one of those stupid calls again and it just knocked me right out.
That's fine.
I'm so.
I was saying we can just go over time together and kind of.
Well, yeah, I was. That's my number 1, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's one of those things. I love the whole that opening of ticking away the moments that make up a dull day. Just his voice is like he's got that grit to his voice and
Well, Richard when you're in your teens, you sleep half your life.
Yeah.
When you're in your 20s, you don't think about time.
No.
Time means nothing. You're staying up till all hours of the night. When you get older, you realize, man, where'd that time go? And now you're scrambling for time because you don't want it to, but it's too late, right? Ticking away the moments that make up the dull day, just like you said. And again, a classic solo in that one. It's just fantastic stuff.
Yeah, that guitar is wailing.
Prevalent today as it is.
Yeah.
The only thing that doesn't go fast is work.
That's always
takes up your time.
But believe it or not, I mean, we're almost in the middle of April. It just does go fast. Believe it or not, it just seems like it hasn't. Yeah.
I love the whole. Again, Richard Wright is singing the co-lead on the bridge, and my favorite stanza that he sings is, he said, "Every year is getting shorter, never seem to find the time. Plans that either come to naught or half a page of scribbled lines." And then this is my favorite line is, hanging on in quiet desperation is the English way.
Yeah.
Time is gone. The song is over. Thought I had something more to say. Like, he's like, I've got a lot more to do in my life, but I don't have any more time. And it's amazing that these guys, you know, in their early 30s when this album came out, and they're already talking about this progressive lyric of maturity and you know, old age essentially. And these guys,
Exactly.
Who would have thought that, you know, David Gilmour would still be playing these songs, or Nick Mason or Roger Waters, you know, in their late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So
I wonder who the backing vocal is on that, because she's beautiful as well. She sounds amazing.
I think
it's amazing. Like Sam said, they had the foresight to know what we'd be thinking, especially Robert and I, at an advanced age where we missed out. If I would have known this back when I was 25, 30 years old, I wouldn't have wasted so much time.
Well, you always want to turn back time, but then you figure, you know, well, maybe I'd do things, you know, there's always that crossroads in your life.
Sure.
I've had a few of those where I could be completely different. I wouldn't even be sitting here sometimes, maybe if I don't mean that tragically, but I would have gone into a different direction in my right. But yeah, time is, well, today flew. It's my day off, and today just went like that.
Right.
This is the opposite for me, because I worked today. My day was like stretched thin.
Yeah, but again, classic song.
Yeah,
classic song. Yeah.
My number one is Us and Them. You guys had it a little bit back, 4 or 5, I think. I just love this song. To me, it's like a hypnotic. It has a little jazz element to it as well. There's 2 different sax solos, which are really cool. The war theme about forward he cried, from the rear and the front rank died. I mean, you can see them on the lines just getting mowed down. Then the general sat, and the lines on the map move from side to side. The generals are not fighting, they're strategizing. There's all that war theme. And you can apply it, I think, besides war, to Us and Them, as far as the divisiveness that goes on in our world today between, let's say, Democrats and Republicans, capitalism and communism, racism, black, white, rich, poor, all the way down the line. You can say there's us and there's them.
Yeah.
It's up to your interpretation of, but that's what I think of when I think of this song. And it's beautifully done at a slower pace, like a ballad, someone said earlier, which is true. It doesn't as quickly as Time or Money or, you know, some of the other more up-tempo numbers, but so what? It's still a great song.
Roger Waters must have written that because he was, you know, he was big on those war themes, right? Yeah,
because they had Animals was yet to be written, and you know, The Wall, and that was all.
The Final Cut is all about pretty much all about war.
Yeah.
So, the Final Cut is one I need to dive into. I know a couple of the tunes, but I need to listen to that.
It's a listen. It's not Dark Side, it's not Animals, it's not Wish You Were Here. On its own, I think it's a fantastic album, but if you rank it against others, it's not as, but it's all him pretty much.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I think it's, I don't rank, I try not to rank albums together because each album is different, and they put so much work into that album. You know, right?
Absolutely.
But anyway, yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna rank this one on a scale of 1 to 10. That's our transition. Of course, I mentioned before, 10 a masterpiece, 1 horrible, and 5 is strictly mediocre. So, Robert, you go first. What do you have this album at?
11. No, no, I'd say it's definitely perfection from start to finish. I'd say it's a 10. There's not a bad album. Not a bad track on the album. It flows together when you put it in the order that they put it. We've kind of mixed it up and jumbled it up a little bit, but it's got that. There's so many themes within the album.
Yeah,
it's a masterpiece, and that's why it stayed on the charts for that 700 and some weeks. I mean, that's unheard of.
It is.
And for young guys to write something like that is genius.
Yes.
It's genius. There's nothing, maybe Sgt. Pepper's, maybe the White Album. I mean, it's hard to compare the writing skills of that. And there's every band I think has magic happen in most cases, this was their magic. This was their magic.
Yeah.
So I give it a 10 out of 10. Fantastic album.
How about you, Sam?
Well, it's obvious it's not my favorite album of all time, and I would say my top 5 favorite albums of all time are all 10s, and this is not one of them. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a 9. Otherwise, I mean, like Robert said, it's a pretty perfect album. Again, it flows. It's one piece of art. It's not meant to do what we did to it, but
no.
Like, it's not one that you want to listen to on iTunes. You know, you don't pick your tracks. This is one song. Think of it as one song, and I mean, it's brilliant. It's my favorite Pink Floyd album. It's cliche to say that, but it is, because there's a reason that it was on the charts for decades, and still shows up every now and then when they reissue it. It stays on for like another 10 weeks or so. And it'll always be. I mean, it's just like Sgt. Pepper, or Pet Sounds, or Back in Black. Any of those albums that are considered classics, there's a reason for it, and that's why we're showing it today. So it's a 9 today for me.
I have to give it a 10 objectively. I mean, it's not my favorite album, but I think it's the best album I've ever heard in my life, as far as how it's put together and how it flows and what it means. It's an easy 10 for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'll score anything else at 10, because this, to me, is the best album I've ever heard in my life. Even though I'm not the biggest Pink Floyd fan, or psychedelic, or what am I trying to say? Prog fan, or whatever genres you can put Pink Floyd in. They're not my strong suit, but objectively, when I step back and listen to this album, every time I hear it, I think it's a masterpiece. So it has to be a 10 for me.
I completely agree.
I mean,
Do they think they're a prog band? I don't know. I mean, I think they're a prog band myself. I think they're progressive.
They probably wouldn't call themselves that. I don't see Roger Waters giving himself labels, but
no, not a prog band, but they dabble in prog music for sure.
Progressive music for sure. Yeah. I mean, just look at On the Run, or even with the clocks and the chimes and the
all that
money
stuff. Yeah,
that's you don't hear that on Deep Purple. I mean, it's
and the jazz fusion.
The jazz fusion albums, the sax. I mean, sax is in a lot of songs, but
not that way. Yeah, it's not like the Rolling Stones using Bobby Keys.
No.
Or the band.
No. Yeah. But fantastic.
Thank you, Robert. This was fun.
Thank you. I this was fantastic, and I apologize for the mess up on my. I'm probably on lock now, so we can do it all over again.
That's all right. I might just let it go as far as the editing. I don't know if I need to take that out, because it seemed to flow pretty good once you came back on. What do you think, Sam? Just
it's fine.
Yeah, it's just that stupid freaking calls, man. It's just I don't know how to combat it, because when you dial back, there's no it's an unlisted number. There's nothing listed. It's just, I think it's just on that robot thing that they just hit speed dial, and every number is different. So I blocked, I don't know, probably 20 lines already. So it's crazy.
Anyway, we want to thank Robert's On My Turntable for being here.
Thank you so much.
We've been looking forward to it. Check his channel out for those who haven't. I'm sure most of my viewers watch his channel, but extensive collection. He's got such a vast knowledge of different genres of music. I know he likes hard rock and prog and classic rock, but check him out. He's got a warm, friendly personality with the coffee and stuff. You'll love
no coffee today.
No coffee today, but
no coffee
out. And of course, Sam St. John, my partner here with this series, Americana, Tom Petty, Van Morrison, Bob Dylan, all the greats. Check him out. He'll sing once in a while. He's great at album reviews and concert reviews, so it's all there, total package.
He does like the White Album too. He just says that. He just says that.
So for Robert and Sam, this is Rich. Thanks again for watching.
Thank you, guys.
See you next time.